欢迎回到塞恰，我是 Inside 的编辑Mia。
我是 Fox。那今天呢，会是一个很特别的一集，因为大家会第一次听到呢，我们这一集呢有超过一半以上都是用英文在做的访谈。那我们今天邀请到的是亚马逊 Bedrock 生成式 AI 市场总监 Mark， 他是加拿大人，所以他全程会用英文。那第二位呢，是我们会邀请到的是 AWS 产品专家 Lead Casey 来跟我们分享他在台湾这边跟生成式 AI 有关的一些分享。那请 Casey 跟 Mark 跟大家打声招呼。
嗨，大家好，我是 Kathy， 很开心有机会来参加这个 podcast 哦。那我们产品专家团队呢，其实是在台湾呢，帮助客户了解我们的产品技术，了解我们产品的最新更新，有问题都可以随时找到我们，跟我们询问哦。谢谢。
Hi Mark, please say hi to our audience.
Hey everybody.
我们知道这个亚马逊呢，在过去的几个月里面做了非常多投资 AI 的事情。那最近的一个大消息是，他们用4个 billion 去投资了 Anthropic， 然后来在生成式 AI 这边展开一个很激烈的对抗啊。那我们其实想要知道AWS 这边在从过去到现在做了哪些事情，所以第一个问题会是询问 Mark，how does AWS AI stay in front? And what is the big moves or wins? Can you share some insight for us?
Absolutely. First, thank you for having me. This is really great. It's morning for you and night for me. It's a really exciting time around AI for us here at AWS. I think maybe one of the first things to know is just how long AWS and Amazon have been working in the machine learning and AI space. This is not necessarily new for us. We have hundreds of thousands of customers who've been working, and even Amazon as a company does so much in the machine learning and AI space that we have a lot of experience, and that experience is paying off as we are now helping customers, particularly in generative AI, and some of the new kinds of applications, the new kinds of experiences that customers are looking for. Most recently, we've made investments. We think of it like a 3-layer cake are the things that we're doing that really make us different. The first layer is just AWS's massive infrastructure, being a leader in cloud computing. We have the resources that are needed in the AI world, but that includes things like our relationship with NVIDIA and the access to the GPUs and the computing horsepower, our own silicon, Trainium and Inferentia, that's designed to help customers have really cost-effective computing power, where you get a price performance benefit. And also a product called SageMaker, which is our data science and model building foundation. That's where developers and data scientists prep their data and build models and fine-tune models and prepare them for use. So that's that first layer. In the middle layer, and hopefully we talk about it a lot today, is what we're doing in building AI applications. And that's where you hear the word Bedrock as a product from AWS. And that's a service designed to give access to models with a set of developer tools to make it really, really easy to build AI applications. And then the top of that, the layer cake, is what we're doing around applications. So AWS has pre-built applications with AI baked in. And a good example of that is a product called Q. We actually released it, generally available this week. 2 flavors in particular. One is Q Developer, which is a tool to help developers generate code and migrate code bases like between versions of Java and things like to make a developer's life really easy. And Q for Business, which is your assistant in helping you be more productive, whether that's understanding your data, getting access and be able to interact with documents and data sources. But those are applications. So whether you want to buy an application, whether you want to build something yourself, or you need the the foundational horsepower to build one of these new large language models, AWS has you covered across the entire stack. And I think that's what makes us stand out. And it's really resonating with customers so far.
Cool. Indeed. So what can exactly Amazon Bedrock do? I think it's AWS service for AI, which make a lot of things. Can you tell us more about Amazon Bedrock?
Yeah, so if you want to build an application, one of the hardest things to do is figure out which model you need, how to get access to that model, how to use it really effectively. These are the things that a developer has to think about. It takes time, it takes energy. And that's where Bedrock came from. So Bedrock is a service that gives API-driven serverless access to a range of the world's leading models, foundational models and LLMs. And by serverless, I mean you get access. You don't have to worry about anything, setting up anything. We handle that for you, and a developer accesses those models directly through an API. And we give you choice. Like, one of the first things about Bedrock is the access to all these leading models. So an example is the Anthropic Claude 3 models, but also models from Cohere and Meta, the new Llama models, the Mistral models is a great example, and even Amazon's own models called Titan, all available to you. So you get this great range. And then around Bedrock are all these tools to help a developer, developer's life be easier, basically. Things like the ability to connect a model to your sources of data. So if you're doing a RAG kind of application, augmenting a prompt into a model with your own data sources, making that very easy to do. Creating agents so that a prompt to a model can be combined with accessing one of your business systems. Things like guardrails, making sure, from a responsible AI perspective, that how these models are used follows your company's policies, as an example. So bad things aren't happening in those prompts. We've even released things like bringing your own custom models into Bedrock. So if you want to tweak, particularly an open source model, and fine tune that model, say using a tool like SageMaker, you can now import it into Bedrock and use it with all of those tools still available to you. So it's a really, really exciting time for us. It's the 1-year anniversary of Bedrock this past year. We had this past week rather, and we had a whole slew of these new features, and we already have over 10,000 customers using Bedrock every single day. So it's pretty exciting.
Okay, so I think all the famous AI models like Stable Diffusion, Claude, Mistral, and the Llama are all available on Bedrock right now. So why can't AWS have many big models like them all over the world? What's the secret? What is the special of each models?
Yeah, so we really believe in helping give customers the best tools available to help them solve the business problem that they have. I mean, this happens not just in AI, in all parts of AWS. And so when we think about particularly the generative AI space, we really believe that having a single model is probably not the way most customers are going to build applications. In fact, when you talk to customers and they start to build these sort of complex applications to solve whatever business problem they have, they actually will tend to chain models together. So they might use one model for one purpose, say summarizing a document. They might use another model for reasoning and problem solving, because these models are good at different things.
Yeah.
They might also do it for cost reasons. Some of these models are smaller and cheaper. Some of them are far more robust and faster and better at reasoning, but more expensive. And so you can chain these models together. And so the only way you can do that is if you have the choice made available to you. So from the beginning, we always believed in choice. We were already working with many of these model providers use AWS as their infrastructure for training the models. So we had a great relationship with the model providers. And we've built Bedrock in a way that we are handling the compute and all the complexity of hosting those models. We're doing that for you. And when a customer comes to Bedrock, it's a matter of simply selecting the model they want and accessing it through our API and through the AWS console and so forth. And I think that really is our secret sauce, is listening to our customers who wanted this choice. Now, luckily, we know a lot about building giant scalable systems. Like AWS is really, really good at that. And we've applied a lot of that experience now to the AI field. And it's really resonating with customers. This idea of choice, also being able to, move between models as models change. I mean, even in the last month, 60 days, we've seen new versions of Claude 3. We've seen a new version of Llama. Cohere has models on the horizon. The Mistral models are becoming so popular. Well, if you want to test and move between these models, doing that yourself is going to be incredibly complicated. Bedrock gives you this foundation of choice, this foundation of being able to use them. And I think that's what makes it special. And that's why it really resonates with customers and in all things that we do at AWS, starting with that customer view and working backwards into how we solve the problem. We've applied it really directly here. And that's kind of the special part of what Bedrock's all about.
Okay, great. So the being safe with AI is very important right now. So what does the AWS Cloud to do to help the business and the developer to use AI safely?
Yeah. Security, privacy, responsible AI, incredibly important for our customers.
Yes.
I talk to dozens, hundreds of customers in a month. Many of them come to Seattle, where I live, and they come visit us at our headquarters, and we meet with them and we talk about AI. And not a single customer doesn't talk about this. So we think about it in a few ways. So one, in Bedrock, there's a feature called guardrails, and guardrails helps do things like filtering for abusive language or other sort of categories that you would want to avoid. It helps you protect against personally identifiable information, right? So if you see that these prompts are beginning to leak information, guardrails is there to help stop that. It helps a company apply basically a policy for how AI is going to be used. So that's in Bedrock. We already have that concept of security and responsible AI built into Bedrock. But it actually goes a step farther than that. One thing that really comes to mind is how we use data. And so because of how these models are made available, when you use your data to augment a prompt into one of the models, that data is not passed back through to the model providers. So you can use RAG, you can connect to your data sources knowing that data is not leaving and being used by one of the providers in a way that you don't know. And it's pretty important to companies that they know that that's not happening. It goes a step further. We respect, many of our model providers have terms and conditions about how their models are used because they are really concerned about responsible AI. I think about, Anthropic has some really, I think, enlightened ways of thinking about how their model is going to be used. And we reflect that and pass that, the use of any of those models follows how the model provider wants them to be used. When we import, custom models, we work to preserve some of the safety that was built into the training of the model in the first place. And our own models, the Titan models, Amazon works really hard on how those models were trained, that it was trained on data securely. It was trained on data that we have the right rights to and was done in the correct way. Again, a huge concern. And then there's observability, like how is the model making a decision? Why did it do the thing that it did? Are you getting the logs? Can you see the decision tree to understand why the model did the thing that it did? It's another part of sort of safety and security around using generative AI. So for us, all across AWS, privacy and security is always, job zero. It's the most important thing, and we're applying that in the AI space as well.
Okay, I'm thinking.
Hey, and we're talking about strategic partnership value. What is Amazon's relationship with the company Anthropic that started in 2021?
It's a good one.
It definitely is. We have great relationships across all of the model providers. I'll start by saying that. We have this fantastic relationship with Anthropic. AWS and Anthropic obviously announced many things in a pretty deep relationship over the last year. For us, it's really important. Anthropic makes the most performant model on the market today. Between the three models of Haiku and Sonnet and Opus, you see this mix of speed and efficiency and cost blended with depth of reasoning and super powerful models. So basically the tools are there for you to build any application within the economic model, the speed and latency you need, the kind of application that you're doing. So we're really pleased. We work with Anthropic directly as they build these models as a partner of theirs. They are a major part of the model selection on Bedrock. Anthropic's going to lean into things like using our chipsets like Trainium in the future for and supporting that in the models, which will be a real benefit to customers, from a price performance perspective. And we see a lot of demand. Customers are really enamored by these new models. They're pretty awesome.
I totally agree because I use the Claude to translation for translation, and the quality is very good. And I think it's the best quality compared to other language models.
Yeah, and Amazon is even using Claude across the company for all kinds of different projects as well. So we're using it as well. But helping customers, many customers may have started with one model and thinking there was only one choice. And one thing we see right now is customers realizing that, there are many choices of models that do different things. And so we'll see a lot of customers coming back, wanting to test, particularly the Anthropic models, wanting to understand how to move their applications to Claude 3. Discovering things like, translation is a great example. Another one is, Haiku is great at video. And so computer vision is a good example of something. Opus, we talk to customers and they talk about Opus is really great at reasoning and understanding, right? So those really deeper applications, Opus is perfect for. Claude 3 remains at the, they remain at the top of the leaderboards, right? And they're getting, getting great reviews. So yeah, it's a pretty powerful relationship that we have with Anthropic. They're amazing to work with. We're really, really proud to have them as a partner. And we do similar things with the other model providers as well. I definitely want to point out too.
And what kinds of things will Amazon and Anthropic work on together? And what good things do they hope? Do you hope will happen from working together?
Yeah. I mean, first and foremost is, bringing the Claude 3 models to all of our customers has been a huge focus. We've been, obviously Opus launched on Bedrock very recently. We continue to expand, the regions that's available in, and helping customers, really move Claude 3 based applications into production. I mean, that is the focus right now. There's just so much demand. Now, some customers, I will definitely say this, like some customers who have awesome developers and they really understand AI, they just want to get the tools and they want to start building. Other customers, they don't necessarily have that skill set and they need help. And so we have things like, we have something called the Gen AI Innovation Center. This is a group of people who actually help customers build Gen AI applications. And we do that hand in hand with a customer and then leave that application with the customer so that they have it and it goes into production. And we do that directly with Anthropic as well. So I think the focus of the next year is making sure as many customers have access to Claude 3 as possible, making sure we make it really widely available. Obviously, these models are going to continue to evolve, and we're going to be right there with Anthropic as those models evolve over time. But really, to me, it's about helping customers like unlock the amazing things you can do with the models. And that's where we're spending most of our time with Anthropic right now, is helping customers do great things.
I have one more question. You have a lot of customers. What is the most popular feature the business owner they like to use, or what are the features that are trying to build? Which one is the most popular?
So, yeah, this is a great question. We get asked this one quite a bit. I'll tell you about some of the things that I've seen so far. The great thing about Gen AI is it can kind of do anything, which it's like you're limited by your imagination. But I definitely think customers have honed in on a few places. So one great example is customer service. Almost every big company has a call center, a help desk, a customer service, line or an email or a website you visit. And a lot of customers are realizing just how transformative Gen AI can be for customer service. And whether that's, a chat bot that really understands you, or even more advanced things. Like if you think about a call center, a customer calls and I'm on the phone with them, if I'm talking to you, it's really hard for me to like look things up, right? I have to turn my attention away. Well, what if as we're talking, we have a live transcription of what we're talking about, and that Gen AI application gets access to that live transcription and then can start sending me, the customer service rep, prompts to say, don't forget that this customer can have a discount, or don't forget this is how you get something fixed, or don't forget to, say nice things to the customer. Here's some information about them. That is amazing. And what you see is customers reducing the call time and increasing the value of those calls. So customer service is a big one. Another one is knowledge management, the assistance. So, companies have, I'll give you an example in manufacturing. And this has actually happened quite a bit. If I run a factory, there's machines in those factories that have to get fixed, and the manuals and the documents and the policies about how a machine gets fixed, that's really hard to read. And so what you see is companies are taking those, digitizing those manuals, putting them into a vector database, making them accessible as a RAG source to a chatbot, and then letting the technician say, when was the last time this machine was serviced? What's the best, how often does something have to change? And then have the chatbot have access to that. Again, making that person's life really easy. The last example I'll give you is paper. Every company has paper, applications, patient records, financial, you apply for a mortgage, you apply for a loan. And taking those and digitizing them, and then again, making it available so that you can interact with those documents more easily. Tell me about this customer. What are they trying to do? What is a patient's discharge papers say about what they're supposed to do when they get home, and making it easier to understand. So you see a lot of sort of really intelligent document processing happening as part of these applications. Those are just three. And we're seeing more every day. Companies' imaginations of what they're trying to solve are pretty amazing. But those are three good examples.
Yeah. Okay.
Talking about use cases, and we want to know more about international use cases. How was Anthropic's Claude 3 Opus model working on so far, and what kinds of things is it really especially good at?
Yeah, particularly with Claude, I would sort of call out, it depends a little bit on the model. So, we touched on one of them was computer vision, using Haiku. There's another use case, document summarization and content creation. Yeah. I actually, personally, I use an application we have internally powered by Claude 3 Sonnet to help create LinkedIn posts and social media posts, as a good example. It's a great way to get started. It's a great way to generate content. It's really, really good at that. Opus is, better for these more advanced tasks that require a little bit of deeper understanding. So a little more reasoning, a little bit more analysis. Here's a source of data, and sort of draw from it more analysis, more understanding of what's going on, just because it is such a significantly more complex and deeper model. You see people using it in that way. So it really depends what it is that you want to do. It sort of depends what that end user experience is going to be like. It depends sort of what you need out of the model. But those are three examples across the models for sure. Yeah. It's a huge model. And, and remember that you're probably not using one of them, right? You might use Opus for one step and Haiku for another. Yes. Because Opus did some level of, or you might summarize with something with a simpler model and then hand it to the more complex model to do other things. You may actually, augment, we think about this sort of chaining of a prompt together is becoming a very typical way to build these applications. You might even mix models. You might, you might even have, one of the models Mistral from Anthropic with one of the, the Mistral models or Llama do this as well. And it really depends on, if you're building a chatbot and, it's a pretty straightforward out, you're probably not looking to pay for the really deep, expensive model because of what you're doing. And so you're going to pick that cost-effective model. But for something sort of business critical, you want that much deeper, much more capable model, and you're willing to pay because you're probably solving every business is asking, how does AI help me save money, build a better connection with my customer, or transform my business operations, and maybe think of new ways to build products and services, right? So if you're doing one of those things, it's the return on investment that you're getting that's also going to drive a lot of this. So one of the things in Bedrock that is, it's now gone GA, which is this model evaluation tool in Bedrock, is really interesting for customers. Because if I'm a developer and so what we've been talking about, like which model to use, The model evaluation tool is fascinating because you can basically create a set of prompts and a set of conditions for those models. You can apply it across models and evaluate the results. We actually give customers away, if they're really good at it. Different customers have different evaluation criteria, and you can apply those evaluation criteria. But you can actually also use AWS evaluators if you don't really know and you want to ask, like, here's my scenario and which is the best model I should use, you can actually hand it off to a team that will do the evaluation for you and give you a recommendation, which is super, super powerful. So this idea to help a Gen AI developer just get their job done, faster and more, a lot easier, a lot more effective. A tool, much like guardrails for security, model evaluation helps you pick the right underlying model. And it's I think it's going to be one of the most popular parts of Bedrock, actually.
Okay. So Casey, do you have
anything to add?
In particular in Taiwan,
local region.
就跟 Mark 说的一样哦，我们很多的这种 use case 啊，是集中在比如说翻译啊，比如说内容处理、内容生成或者缺霸。其实，在台湾我们看到啊，前3大的应用案例就是所谓的缺霸，或者是 internal 或 external 的这种 knowledge base， 就可以快速的帮我们寻找一些文件。那同时呢，很多的内容生成，包含是截取一些关键的文章啊，这种使用场景很容易呢看到在我们很多客户里面都有。那尤其是我们最近有一家客户叫做谈话，不知道大家喜不喜欢吃药的体验哦？就是这种药看起来就很苦，那其实吃起来都不是很美味。那其实我们这个谈话这家公司呢，它其实就利用了我们这个Bedrock 的这个技术，它其实做的是一种这种像糖果一样的这种药物，然后让大家吃了又健康又可以有疗效，但同时又不太这个艰苦。所以他其实很关注这个市场上面的市场的这个走向，所以他其实就用我们 Bedrock 去用了这些我们的这个技术 Claude， 在他的很多市场的 Facebook 宣传里面呢，去截取很多使用者对他们的产品的建议跟评论，就说这个产品这个 candy 到底好不好吃，那下一个进步你应该怎么做。同时啊，它有很多的供应商嘛，它也会帮供应商截取很多的业界的一些期刊论文，那种很专业的那种期刊论文的知识，去综整说他们下一轮的开发有什么 ingredient， 有什么样子的这种 medical 的这个疗效的这种药材，是可能适合到他们下一轮产品的介绍里头的，或介绍产品的开发点的。所以其实谈话这家公司就很具体的用了很多深圳 AI 的技术，那种内容创造这种内容的快速翻译的功能，去加速它的产品的创新。
我自己在使用的过程中，我觉得我会遇到一些我们所谓幻觉 illusion， 但这个东西有慢慢在缓解。但是在你们遇到这一个东西，在实务上通常会怎么样去处理，让它不要那么的天马行空？我当然知道 temperature 之类的把它设比较低，但是这是一种方式。但还有其他你们知道的怪招或一些秘辛可以跟我们分享？
其实有主要的几种的 deploy model， 第一个可能就是 prompt engineer， 我们透过 prompt 的方式给他一个提示词，让他往这个我们想要的提示工程的地方提示的方向去做前进。那第二种其实就是 Mark 刚刚有讲到的 RAG 它其实是增强式生成式网络，那我们就是背后它搭载一个 knowledge base， 那这个 knowledge base 是相当资料库，它会喂给这个 model 一些企业里面的专有的私有数据，真的是私有数据，只有企业知道的，比如说是公司政策或者是很专业的医疗资讯，这种其实都是我们一个特定的产业才会知道，或公司里面才会知道的一些法规或者是知识。那把它放在这个资料库里面之后呢，它在大语言模型去生成回应的阶段，就会补充很多的文本资料来修正，让它理解我们其实正确的回应方向跟正确的答案是什么样子的。
那你可以RAG 有全名吗？
有的 Retrieval Augmented Generative AI。
所以大家可以想象说，大型语言模型呢是一个它因为通常我们训练是几十个 billion 的大型语言模型，它知道它是一个通才。但是呢，如果我今天想要知道一家公司里面特殊的一些知识内容，可能是员工的训练的，就是刚才有讲，就是比如说某些机器在制造业，它的机器的使用的文件或者是过去的历史的 log， 那这些全部喂进去这一个 RAG 里面，它就变成是一个公司独特的知识管理系统。那就用 Chatbot 的界面就问他的时候，就会更精准，而不是只是用那个大型语言模型这个通才的方式去沟通，而是它能够懂更多关于 你们公司内部的机密。
那讲到这个机密，因为机密的问题，刚刚我们一直在讲说的这 AI safety。那 AI safety 这一塊，我相信 AWS 已經做這件事很久，大家以前上雲端的時候都會問同樣的問題，就是說你們如何保證我們資料的安全跟別人是獨立的，然後我們的資料是沒有被這些 AI model 拿去訓練的，你們通常是怎麼跟客戶在溝通這件事情？
其實我們有內部的一個安全文件的說明，那我們其實都會跟客戶直接開誠布公的就是說我們內部的架構技術這個是怎麼做的。其實各位如果用 AWS 的話，知道我們 AWS 外面是有個 VPC 的結構，它會安全的存取一些網絡的 access 在一個網絡的虛擬網絡層裡頭。那其實 Bedrock 也是被框架在這個虛擬網絡層的 VPC 裡面。那這個虛擬網絡層的 VPC 下所有的通訊都是透過我們的 private link， 就是我們另外一種形式的點對點之間的內網傳輸，不會走 internet 的方式去做 information 的 leaking。所以在我們 AWS 的內網的一個基礎之下，我們就利用了內網的安全性的防火牆的組件，以及我們的內網的互相的層次的溝通，在客戶、使用者跟駭客都不知道的情況之下，去傳遞這些機密的資料。所以其實就是在 no way 那個 data 可以 release leaking out of AWS， 那所有的安全機制會 control 在 AWS 的內部。那這個資料呢，我們會確保這客戶的資料給到 Bedrock 做互動的技術，並不會給到我們做存檔，用那下一波的單元模型的訓練，我們是不會拿客戶的資料來做這個事情。
We are back to Mark. As more and more companies in different industries are starting to use Anthropic Claude technology on Amazon Bedrock to build their own AI apps. So can you give us one or two examples of this?
Of customers building their own apps?
Yes.
Well, there's a lot. I mean, there's lots of examples. I think, I've touched on a few of them. A great example is Intuit. If you know Intuit, they make financial and tax software. They used Bedrock as part of the Gen AI experience for tax season. So answering questions and helping people file their taxes. And they actually have a really fascinating approach to building this, Intuit-wide sort of AI operating system almost to help augment all of their experiences. So, that's a great example. We're working with a food delivery company who has built an application to help interface with their drivers. One type of customer service they have is with people ordering food, but the other customer service they have are the drivers who they employ, and those drivers, have questions about problems with orders or directions or things like getting paid and tax information and benefits and these kinds of things. And they've built this really amazing AI interface to replace basically call center interactions, which are really frustrating for the drivers because they have to sit on the phone and they have to wait for people. And now they've actually reduced the time it takes to answer a lot of these questions, and it saves both the company and the drivers a lot of time and a lot of money. That's another really fantastic example. So that, those are just two. I think if you add to, the examples I talked about, financial services customers who are using it for processing applications, working with a number of healthcare and government institutions, around patient data, around applications for government programs, these kinds of things, again, to help the processing of paper, which is, a huge problem. We're spending a lot of time on that, on the call center scenarios, like I said. So, the list is getting pretty long of the types of customers and the kinds of things that they're doing. It's really exciting.
Yes.
And do Kathy has anything to add?
你可以跟我们分享，就是台湾这边有其他的吗？就是除了谈话之外。
是，其實除了談話之外，我們還有很多不同的客戶，比如說很多客戶要去做一些互動行銷，像 Chatbot 就是我們最 immediate Gen AI 要幫我們做的事情。所以我們有一家公司叫做 Super A。 Super AI 其实是个 market company。那我们现在很多的渠道啊，比如说手机的 Line 啊、Facebook 啊，甚至大家会玩那个抖音。那其实不同的 channel， 我们都会期待是说有一些客制化的一些 interaction。那很多的厂商就会把这样的脑筋动在说，如果我可以在跟客户在这些不同交易平台、不同的社群平台上面互动的时候，可以给到他一些更客制化、他会有兴趣的题目，那是不是有可能呢，就会可以把客户引导到去做一些购买啊，去做一些智慧化的导购啊。所以很多的我们的厂商我们的 Super A 呢都有在 support 他们去做这些智能导购、智能的推荐系统，就透过这种我们的这种社群网驻的 interaction 的方式，给到他一个比较专属的客制化 personalized 的这种对应的界面。甚至在未来还会做很多有趣的事情，那他可能就会更有兴趣的往这个商品上面去购买。
我分享一个可能的情境是，因为在model 里面有一个是 region， 那过去呢我们做 OCR 辨识，英文的OCR 做的蛮好的，其实过往英文都没什么问题，但主要是中文的。那中文的应用里面，我觉得有一个最有趣的是，过去我们都会收集名片嘛。那名片我们可能过去可能会有一些 app， 它可能有自己的 OCR， 然后辨识好，帮你分类整理这些名片的资料。那我最近看一个最简单的，其实它就是直接呼叫AI 的 region 辨识，然后辨识完之后呢，它是用 Line 作为载体，然后就拍完之后，这个 bot 就会辨识你这样名片上面的名词、电话、email、住址，然后呢，我们只要下一行 pop， 它就会变成一个 JSON 的格式，直接就存到对应的资料库里面去。那所以这完全就变成是一个自动化的事情。所以有很多其实不只是企业在用，在增加个人的生产力上面，其实也会有蛮大的帮助。对，这是一种
没有错，甚至还可以搭配 Stable Diffusion， 画出你自己个人形象的替代人打哦。
对，所以在 AI 这边的应用其实是非常普及的，而且其实我们在访谈里面有讲 market 有学，其实因为model 分成至少3个 level，Haiku、Sonnet 跟 Opus， 那它其实有不同的应用的方式。那这上除了这个Claude 之外，它应该还有什么 Mistral、Llama 这些所有东西，它其实擅长的东西也不一样，价格也不一样，所以在 Bedrock 上面可以这个很方便的去看这些东西的评比啊、尝试啊，让大家可以选择到最适合的大型语言模型，然后还有他们的中文能力可能也不太一样。对，所以我觉得这是一个蛮优质的一个方式去尝试。
没错，Claude 的这种语言能力啊，在我们现在看到的中文知识上面，我觉得是好。
你看起来 Llama、Mitchell 跟Claude， 你觉得Claude 是好的？
对，很多客户的实证跟 POC 的结果，也是 Claude 能够给到最精确的翻译。
真的？因为我前阵子我用了一下 Mitchell， 我也觉得 Mitchell 还不错，比我想象中好很多。因为你想说法国人行嘛，真的就 OK。
我自己有一个很好玩的例子，就是我们家住家，我们最近在那个社区的维修报修嘛，我就在墙壁上看到了一个我看不懂的语言，现在像有点像英文，但是有一些点点符号，我就拍照上传了 Claude 的那个 Opus 那个模型，然后它就辨识出这个语句呢，其实是这个越南文。应该就是有一个越南的施工的工人在整理的时候，就写下了一句越南脏话，就可能抱怨他工作比较辛苦啦。然后我就透过了这个 Bedrock 上面的 Office 就知道这个事情，也学了一个未来语的脏话，
真的很有趣。
不好学习，但就是一个很快速的翻译的功能。
OK
And last question, let's talk about future. What plans does Amazon have for AI in the future? And compared to other cloud computing companies, what advantage does Amazon still have when it comes to AI?
Oh, great question. There's so much. where to start? How much could I tell you on a podcast? One thing that we think a lot about is how to make AI accessible to everybody. I think if you're a data scientist, if you become a prompt engineer, if you're really, deep with these models, that it's awesome. You're probably doing great things. But if you're just a normal user and maybe a business person, maybe, you haven't really worked with these technologies. We're trying to find ways to make it really, really accessible. And so one of the things, I don't know if you've seen, is something called Party Rock. So Party Rock, if you go to partyrock.aws, Party Rock is basically a way to really simply create your own AI application. And this is completely powered by Bedrock, by the way. So underneath this is Bedrock. But what's amazing is you can tell it, I want an application to create a script for a great podcast or YouTube video, and it creates an app to help you build a script. Or you can start, or I want to create an app to recommend movies, or I want to create, I coach hockey, ice hockey. I'm Canadian, so I play a lot of hockey. And I created an application to create a practice plan for the kids that I coach. And it helps me make the plan for practice about what we're going to do. And so this is one of the things like we think an awful lot about, is how do you put AI in the hands of, everyone.
Daily life.
Yeah. And I think AWS has been amazing at this in all kinds of areas of technology, and using the cloud to solve so many problems. And we want to do that again. So I think that's one big thing we really think about in the future. And I think things like Party Rock are just going to get better as ways to get started. It's also like, if you're a developer, maybe you're a student and you want to get started, this is a great way to start to learn. The other thing we want to think a lot about are the sort of business use cases. So, nobody just wants to buy a LLM. Like, that's not what you want to do. You want to you need to solve a problem, right? And so one thing we're spending a lot of time on are trying to put together, like, kind of pre-package more use cases to help solve a problem. So the example I gave today, the document processing, we have that packaged up. So if somebody came to us and said, oh yeah, I have lots of paper, what should I do? We can actually show them the architecture. We can help them get started. And we want to do that in more places: customer service, content creation, media analytics, advertising, you name it. We have a lot of ideas for these use cases. So that's one thing. We want to give the AI developer even more tools. So I think as we look into the future, we think about how can we make building an application as easy as possible? How can you do more in responsible AI and security? How can you do more to connect to the data you already have? So most companies, there's so much data in the world. I mean, the real promise of AI is to take all that data companies have been generating for decades and make it even more useful. And so you have to think about, how do you connect AI to these giant sources of data, which maybe weren't designed for it in the first place. And so we think a lot about, how companies build their data lakes and how they, structure their data so it can be used, appropriately for RAG and other applications in Gen AI, and making that as simple as possible, because that's where the insights come from. That, if you're working in life sciences and you're doing something in gene research or drug development, you need access. You have to have access. If you're working in manufacturing, you want to know about the machines, you have to have access to that data. So data, it's always been true that data is important, but it's never been so important. And so that's a big part of our future. And then making sure that the best tools with the best performance, with the best access for customers is always available. That's something AWS has always provided to customers, and we're going to make sure that the absolute best AI tools are always available to our customers. I think we've done a fantastic job doing that. And maybe the last thing I'd say is how, AWS is, so being part of Amazon does a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's a really cool place to work. And one of the things I think that makes us unique is that Amazon often does things for itself that then we turn into products for other people to use.
Yes.
It's part of our culture. It's actually one of the most special parts of what we do. So, we created technology for the Go stores, the Just Walk Out stores, and now anyone can buy that and install it in their facilities. Or we created technology for customer service and we turned it into our call center, Amazon Connect. And so we do this a lot. So now we think about what are all the things that we're doing in AI and how do we maybe, take that and turn it into the next generation of products that everybody can use based on the massive experience that we have in AI ML. And so that we think about a lot about that into the future. It's really exciting. Really, 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 really exciting. And, as always, our first mission is to help customers do the most amazing things and spend the least amount of money doing that and have, really fantastic results. So that's always what we're focused on the most.
可是刚刚 Mark 有提到了一些在使用各个 model 试用的一些方法，那你可以跟我们讲说，如果台湾的朋友他们想要试用这些 model， 有什么样的方式可以试试看呢？
问得好，这真是好问题啊！我们来 Podcast 一定要有一些好康嘛。那现在呢，各位可以搜寻在 Google 上面搜寻我们的 Bedrock Claude 试用，大概能看到一个网址。那个网址上面呢，其实就是我们的免费试用的平台。点进去之后呢，你可以拥有24小时不用信用卡，然后也不用自己注册账号的24小时的免费的 Claude 的使用体验。那欢迎大家呢踊跃的去搜寻跟注册。
好，我们会把这个连结的资讯放在资讯栏里面，大家有兴趣的话，可以到资讯栏里面看一下。
Okay, thank you very much.
Hey, thank
you, Mark.
Thank you
for all the exciting insight with us.
This was super. This was really, really fun. I almost followed along when we weren't talking English. I'll work on that for the next time we get together.
But by the way, I really like your setting about your the lighting, all the room setting. It looks very good.
One thing, I've become a podcasting and video nerd over the last few years. So being able to be on a podcast with you is the greatest thing of my week. So thank you for letting me use all of this the right way.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
See you.
See you, and we'll see you next time on Side Chat. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.